Hi there, welcome to Community Made, the podcast dedicated to exploring the powerful ways we connect in our lives, our work, and our business. I'm your host, Ingrid Zapata, and in each episode, we'll dive into genuine conversations that shape our sense of belonging, offering insights and real stories about building meaningful communities in life, in business, online, and offline. Let's grow! Haley Thomas is a business strategist, speaker, and podcast host. She's also the founder of The Passion Pursuit and the owner of Camp Climb. With a mission to empower multi-passionate creatives, Haley helps founders build businesses that thrive financially while still supporting a life they actually enjoy. Through her programs, mentorship, and events, she shares practical strategies for building with purpose, clarity, and joy. Hi, Haley. How are you?
Hi, good. So glad to be here with you.
I am so happy, and I feel like I always start every episode saying this, but I'm so glad that we're finally here making this happen because we were just talking about this before we went through all of the other tech issues, which we'll talk about later. But I think it's been a year since we last chatted, right?
It's been, I think, half a year. I think I was like very pregnant, about to have a baby, and now she's here and 5 months old today, which is crazy.
So it was in like the end of winter going into spring,
Yes.
which is why it feels like it was last year because it was like a whole different season. But I'm so okay. So tell me about baby. How are you doing? What a big transition.
I know, right? I feel like it's like night and day from the last time we talked to now, but no, it's been wonderful. I have a baby girl. She's our first, Lucy, and she is truly just a little ray of sunshine. Like she has been such a light, and it was quite the adventurous birth experience and postpartum experience for sure. But I honestly feel like she has been, I don't want to say like the easiest part, because right, like new motherhood is always challenging in its own way, but like she has truly just been like the most fun part and the most enjoyable part of this whole transition, and so it's been wonderful,
And you're almost at the 6 month mark,
which is
which to
crazy.
me, it's wild to even think about it. And it's also when it's someone else, right? When it's you, you're like, I felt the time pass. But to other people, it's like, wow, so fast. But that 6 month mark for me, it's one of my favorite ones because they start to take shape in the sense of like developmentally. They're like sitting up already and starting to do all the silly, cute things that actually start to give you a sneak peek into what their personality will end up being like. And I think
Mhm.
it's worth celebrating. Do you guys have any plans?
Yeah, we are wanting to do a little photo shoot with her just because I feel like even she's changed so much. Like I was just studying her little face last night when we were putting her to bed, and I was like, wow, it's so crazy to think this time last year we were seeing
Mhm.
her little profile for the first time in the ultrasound and calling her little bean, and here she is, like a
Yeah.
whole person. And it's sometimes wild to like look at her and be like, wow, I carried you for 9 months. Here you are. So just
Mhm.
really soaking it up and trying to be as present as possible because I'm noticing just how quickly this journey is going. Like, yes, it's been like, oh my gosh, a lot in a short
Mhm.
amount of time, and it's felt slow in some ways, but I look at her and I'm like, oh my gosh, you're already getting so much bigger than you were, and that's crazy. So just soaking up every moment.
So fast, so fun, so exhausting, right?
Yeah.
And when you and I spoke, which was when you were like at towards the end of your pregnancy, you mentioned that there was like some really exciting change that was happening in your business. Can you remind me what was going on right before you had Lucy and where you are now?
Oh my gosh, 2025 has been like the year where I was like, wow, that was not on my bingo card, but in like the best way, like the most exciting way. So became a mom, and simultaneously this last year I bought a second company. So for those who don't know, I'm the founder of The Passion Pursuit, and I also purchased Camp Climb, which is a community and annual event that's been created here in the Midwest. And I had the benefit of going to Camp Climb in the earlier years of my business, and it was
Mhm.
such a huge catalyst for me as an attendee in creating what I have with the Passion Pursuit. I then came back the next year as a facilitator and teacher at camp, and then now to be the one owning this space, this movement, this annual event. Like I'm really excited about it, and so been transitioning into what it looks like to operate essentially like two companies at the same
Mhm.
time while also integrating life as a new mom and trying to run the show on all accounts. So it's been a lot. It's been really hectic, but a lot of really exciting things and so much alignment in what I deeply value in the work that I do and the mission that I hold. So it's been really exciting to think about what's
Mhm.
ahead.
Congratulations, first of all, on purchasing a business and one that you
Thank
had
you.
ties to. Can you
Yeah.
walk me through what that process was like for those that maybe have considered the thought of purchasing a business? How long did it take? Did you know that you clearly knew the person before? How did you find out that there was even an opportunity, or how did you approach it?
You know, it's crazy because I never even imagined this to be an opportunity. It was wild how things aligned. But Camp Climb is actually the first investment that I ever made in myself, as in personal growth, professional growth back in 2019, which is really
Mhm.
crazy to think about. And I grew to really know and love the founder of Camp Climb, Emma Hicks, and we grew to have a great friendship. She's been a mentor of mine as well for many, many years, and we had stayed closely connected. And she had had a really deep conversation with me about this pull that she was feeling to create something different and had the desire for camp to live on, but she didn't see herself being the one to lead the ship anymore.
Mhm.
And so she actually reached out to me around this time last year. And she's like, "Hey, I know you are expecting. I know you're about to walk into probably the craziest transition of your life. And do you want to purchase Camp Club? Do you want to lead this next part of the movement?" And I was like, wow, every part of me paused and almost felt this resistance of like, this is not the right time. Like, I'm about to be a new mom. Things are moving and grooving with the passion pursuit. Like, this is not the time to add
Yeah.
another thing to my plate. But at the same time, the whisper was strong. This like burning, like these like butterflies in my belly were like, I feel like there's something here. And so what I feel like for me in terms of purchasing it and why I made the decision to move forward with it was I really had to sit and ask myself, like, from a value standpoint, does this align? And if I thought about it and what camp had given me, as well as what camp gives to other people, in every sense of the matter, the
Mhm.
values were online, or they were aligned, I should say, not online. With the passion pursuit, it honestly felt like camp was the in-person version of the work that I was already doing. So to
Yeah.
me, it felt like just an extension of that. It felt
Mhm.
like it really complemented the mission that I do naturally. So I would say the decision wasn't super, super hard, other than the resistance with just the timing. But I feel like for anybody, it's like, when is there ever a perfect time to start the thing or do the thing or scale
Yeah.
the thing, right? Like, there's always going to be a reason not to. And so for me, it was like, if it's aligned with my values, it cannot be wrong. I know I will figure it out and I will have support along the way. I
Mhm.
think we have this idea in our mind that we always have to do it on our own. And I know you are, and I are both very passionate about
Yeah.
community and that not being the case. So I said yes, and the founder, Emma, was very, very kind to walk with me through the transition. So she has actually been mentoring me behind the scenes for this last year. We took a little
Mhm.
pause in my maternity leave, but for the last year, she's been there in support of walking me through what they did in the past, how to
Yeah.
improve it, what worked for her, what didn't. And so the transition has been, I would say, pretty seamless, to be completely honest. And it's been
Mhm.
fun to see the foundations, but then also have space to think about, like, what is it that I want to bring to this community, and kind of my own spin on it too. So it's been a really, really fun journey.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that, because it really does sound like it's been a perfect, and I want to use the word lightly, like perfect in your own way of what one could imagine that, journey would be like. But there's two things that I want to go back to. One, your first investment, which can often be very scary for a lot of people, right? You start your business, you finally take that leap into the unknown, basically, and there's all of these things being thrown your way, and you made the decision of this being your first investment. Did you do any type of research? How did you know that this was it for you? Because in the long run, this ended up working out for you. And the second part would be connections, which I want to mention now so I don't forget. And if I do, you remind me, the power of connections and relationships. But let's go back to the first investment. How did you decide where your money was going, and were you scared?
Oh yeah, terrified. And at the time I was broke as a joke. Like this wasn't like I was pulling from like a substantial savings or anything like that. Like I was just scraping by over here personally.
Mm,
And at the time I was starting the passion pursuit and I was walking away from my previous career and I was trying to figure out, okay, like what is the next step? And to be
mm,
honest, I felt very alone. I did not have community. And that's what I was seeking. And I happened to be an avid listener of the Gold Digger podcast by Jenna Kutcher. And I was in her Gold Digger podcast insiders group on Facebook. And this was the only place at the time that I knew I could find other women who
mhm.
were business owners or who were scaling. And so I threw a question out there and I was like, hey, does this even exist? Which is funny now because now you see it all the time. But
Yeah.
I didn't know what I didn't know. And I was looking for it. And so I was like, is there an event or a community with women who are doing this thing and that I can connect with and learn from? And multiple people tagged Camp Climb. And so
Wow.
I then got in conversation with the owner, Emma, and we were DMing back and forth. And the way that she really held space to get to know
Mhm.
me and not just like push an event on me or push a sale, but really like hold space for what is it that I was seeking and what I was looking for. It just felt different and
Yeah.
it gave me the confidence and also the sense of belonging, like right from the get-go, that this was a
Mhm.
space that I needed to be a part of. And it's wild looking back because being at that camp, I remember sitting as an attendee and looking at the stage of speakers and being like, wow, I can't wait to speak someday. This is
One
before I
day.
had a podcast. This is before I was speaking, and I'm speaking all the time now. But I'm like, one day I'll be a
Yeah.
speaker. One day I'll get up on stage. And she's so funny. She reflects this all the time to me. She's like, Haley, now you own this stage. I'm like, I do own this stage.
Yes,
So
you
it is
do.
crazy like to think about that. But that, yeah, I would say the first investment was terrifying.
Yeah.
But the more that I chose to move forward with investing in myself, I was then able to see the evidence of what it gave
Mhm.
me. And that gave me the confidence now moving forward. So when there's an opportunity to grow personally, professionally, or have support, I'm more excited about it because I've seen the benefit now.
Mhm.
But yeah, that first one is, whew, it's a doozy.
Oh, yes, it is. And a lot of people don't realize that you do need to invest to grow. And
Mm.
of course, there could be situations where that opportunity might not be for you, which is why it's going to feel even scarier. But the reality is, you need to do your research. You need to put yourself out there. You need to ask those who have gone through that, whatever that is, who have made that investment, and ask about their experience and what happened, how did it go, and all of that to help you at least feel a little better. But how many years ago was that?
In terms of the first investment, so that was at
Yeah.
the end of 2019, which is crazy because really, like in the grand scheme, it hasn't been that long. Like that was the first, and at the time, the passion pursuit was not like I
Hmm.
didn't even have an LLC. It was nothing. It was literally
Yeah.
like a thought in my brain, and I think I wrote it on a piece of paper, and that was it. Like this was,
Yeah.
I was starting from nothing, and I
Mhm.
knew even at that early stage, I was like, I need to be putting myself in
Yeah.
rooms where people can help me to get to the next level.
Absolutely. But you know what? At the same time, it goes to show the power of relationship building and the fact that it does not happen overnight. People don't build businesses overnight. They don't make their first investments overnight. They don't meet these people and build a connection and relationship overnight. It takes time. And I feel like right now with social media and just AI and that fast output that we see, all the time around us has sort of shifted the way we see these type of investments and relationship building and all of that. But at the end of the day, when you actually sit down and talk to people, you realize that this didn't happen overnight. It's been a lot of time, a lot of work, a lot of self-doubt, and a lot of confidence building to get to the point of where you are right now. So I appreciate you sharing that because it takes time. But in your case, it started with yourself, putting yourself out there, finding the Facebook group, putting yourself out there and being open about your challenges, which not everyone does, but it's because of people like you that others are able to see the answer. And then without you even realizing, but just putting yourself out there and taking that first step, other people benefit from that. You gained a connection, you gained the knowledge that you were seeking, and now a second business. You have three babies.
It's insane. It's actually insane when you put it that way. And I think that's important to hit on is I think in today's world where everything is so instant, we
Mhm.
think that that also applies to people, and it's not the case. And you cannot bypass relationship building, and you cannot bypass community. Like these are the most important parts,
Mhm.
especially if you're in the service-based industry, community builder, like this is the most important part of the process. And it takes time to nurture and to grow these relationships, but it is absolutely the most beneficial part of growing anything.
100%. And so, can you tell me, how do the two businesses intertwine now? And for Camp Klein, is there a space where like the attendees can go to further to expand on the connection before or after the event?
Yeah, so I would say there's ways that they cross over in the
Okay.
fact that they both reach the same ideal client. So the
Okay.
passion pursuit I would say is very intended for the early stage entrepreneur who's in the service-based field. It's to
Hmm.
help connect people back to what they love doing and then use entrepreneurship as the vehicle to build that. So that's
Hmm.
very much passion pursuit area, but then Camp Climb is the space where we're bringing community and connection. It's almost like if you took an entrepreneurial retreat meets like the summer camp of your little girl dream. So it's not like
I
a
love
glitz
that.
and glam type of event. It really is like we have our hair in braids or messy bun. You throw the overalls, like super casual, but there's still impact and there's still like a
Hmm.
deep connection. And so I feel like Camp Climb meets entrepreneurs at any stage, and that's the slight difference. Is passion pursuits a little bit more early. Camp Climb is like full blown, like if you're barely starting to you've been in it for a while to you're at like the peak of your game. There's really opportunities for all of us to sit at the table. And so with camp there is an annual event that'll be next August in the Midwest in Iowa. But aside from that, what's been really cool, because I'm like, I want to start the connection now. Like we've already had campers registering, which is actually crazy to me since it's almost a year away. And I'm
Yeah,
like, I don't want to wait till August to connect with this amazing group of people. So we've actually implemented monthly connection calls
that's
to lead
awesome.
all the way up to camp so that people can come to camp already knowing one of their new like besties online and they can connect in person. And it almost then feels like a reunion once
Yeah.
we all get to meet next August. And so, yeah, implementing some of that and really like where can I like plug in different aspects of community?
Hmm.
Like I have a leadership board. I'm doing a fun community group for those who are affiliates of Camp Climb. So really it's like
Yeah.
community is the biggest part of camp.
Yeah,
It really
the
is.
foundation really. And
Yeah.
how have you noticed exist, or like maybe those that have been to it before, once the sale went through and the announcement was made, which I saw on Instagram, how did people react? Were they excited? How are you using social media right now to spread the
Yes.
word of everything that you're working on?
Yeah, so the people who have been before were so excited, and the support has been felt like
Yeah.
through and through because camp has really made such a huge impact on so many people. And I will say too, like some of the deepest relationships that I still have to this day are other business owners that I
Hmm.
met at Camp Climb. So there was a lot of excitement about its comeback and reviving it, and just like a lot of excitement around that. So I felt that. But what's been really beautiful is there has been a lot of new people who have
That's
been drawn
awesome.
to camp. A lot in my world of the passion pursuit, a lot of different events that I've hosted through that. People are like, "Oh my gosh, like wait, there's something we can actually meet in person." And I'm like, "Yes," because the passion
Yeah.
pursuit hasn't really had an in-person element yet. So
Right.
it's cool because a lot of my past clients, past one-on-one clients or past group clients
Hmm.
are now coming to camp and I get to meet and hug them for the first time. So it's been this like beautiful crossover of worlds
Yeah.
from all different aspects, all different communities that I've been a part of or that I've led. And then as far as social media, yeah, yeah, sharing it on all the places for sure. We just wrapped up a fun little like early bird flow, and that's been really
Yeah.
fun. And just like having a lot of fun with it. I think what's cool is camp had some beautiful photography from the last few
Hmm.
years, and so been using that, bringing new people in to see like what it's all about, but also talking to past campers on
Yeah.
sharing their experience and really just giving a voice to the
Hmm.
brand, giving a voice to the business, and really making it about the people that were there. Because I think, to be honest, like the community is the I don't even want to say from a marketing sense, but like the community is the most important thing to hear because that
Yeah.
is not only obviously what sells the experience, but what shows people what you can expect when you're a part of
Hmm.
something like that. And so
Yeah.
it's been fun because it's been something I've been building with people,
Yeah.
definitely not on my own.
And is it always going to be in the same location? Like, do you have a space dedicated
Mm.
for it, or are you thinking about moving it around?
So that's a good question. So this first year it felt right to go back to the roots for like the
Yeah.
annual event. So camp is back in Iowa, but
Okay.
they in the past have done retreats that are on a smaller scale. So in the past they've gone to Oregon, they've gone to Costa Rica. I have been pulled to Costa Rica so many times that I'm like, okay, we absolutely have to go back there. Like that is like a for sure thing is happening. But I'm also envisioning camp is becoming a global movement, and it actually already is. We have somebody flying in from Australia. We've had people
Wow.
attracted from like across the world. And so I'm like, what if camp, like it's rooted here,
Yeah.
but it is not staying here? Like I see camp and the experience in this community being across the, not just the country, but to be honest, like I think it'd be really cool to have like Camp Climb Australia, Camp Climb
Yeah.
somewhere in Europe. Like, why not make this accessible and
Mhm.
a possibility for people across the world to get involved? Because I feel like we have so much to learn from each other in the
Absolutely.
business realm, but also in like the worldly realm. And
Yeah.
I'm such a firm believer in bringing different perspectives to the table. So for me, I see it kind of moving and grooving way
Global
past the
movement.
Midwest. Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, so would you ever consider franchising?
Ooh. Okay, now you're making me think bigger.
Right?
That's why I love conversations with you because sometimes you get me thinking like, wait a second, I haven't thought about that.
I have a lot of idea.
Mm, I literally have never thought about that, but that's
Yeah.
yeah, that's
It-
interesting to
That can
consider.
be part two of our conversation, but it's going right now. The gears are turning, and
They
I will
sure
follow
are.
up with a huge email or a voice memo because that's well, let's be honest here, it's going to be a voice memo
Love
of what
it.
I'm thinking because I feel like there's a lot of opportunity for it. And right now, I've been talking about this for some time and talking with friends and clients, but we're at a really strange time in regards to how we want to connect with people, and especially with the fact that there's no shortage of knowledge and AI and social media just being what it is. And so I am already seeing how people are sort of going back to where we were before and going back to the trust aspect of things, which is being together in person. And I love the way you're setting everything up with being able to lead up to that by having those monthly connection calls and giving them the space and the time for them to get to know one another so that when it's time, everybody knows each other. Like, that's awesome because as an entrepreneur, I will say, and I know I'm not alone in this, when you go to any of these events, it's always so overwhelming and terrifying to show up, especially if you're going alone and without a friend.
Mm,
I always try to find a way to drag someone along with me, or like
same.
what you said, as a community builder, I go online ahead of time and I figure out who's going to be there and try to start that conversation and connection before, because it can be very scary, especially if there's other people who brought their friends, right? So I love that you're doing that. It really does add a lot of value to it.
Yes, I don't want anyone to feel like they have to be like a fly in the wall or in the corner. Like this is really a table that everybody belongs. And if we can start that relationship building process sooner, it will just make the experience even more impactful and a depth that we wouldn't be able to reach if we didn't have that prior
Mhm.
connection. So I'm looking forward to getting to get to that point and hugging people in person because we've been talking all year long and it's just going to be one giant celebration.
And maybe it'll come to New Jersey,
Ah,
where I'm
yes.
at. There's a lot of people around here that you know
That would be
already.
fun. East Coast camp climb. I love it. I'm here for it,
Yes.
honestly. Like, yes.
There's a lot of cool places around here, even New York too. We can go up a little bit. That's
It's
fine.
amazing.
Well, and so can we go back to talk a little bit more about motherhood? I'm a mom of two, so I get it. I've been there. How are you feeling? Do you feel now looking back that maybe what friends or fellow entrepreneurs shared with you about becoming a mom and being a business owner was true? Is it in alignment with what you're experiencing? What has been the biggest challenge and your win that you're the most proud of so far?
Mm. You know, it's interesting because it's like you don't know until you know. And I feel like maybe things were shared with me in the past and I'd been like, oh yeah, but like I'll figure it out like and all that. And I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, no, this is the most beautiful and also simultaneously like one of the most challenging. And especially in this season where I'm integrating kind of
Mm-hmm.
like my before and my now, right? Of like, how am I working? And I'm also wanting to be so present and also still be ambitious. And I'm trying to like mold these two together. And it's not easy because you always kind of feel like your heart's being pulled where you're not. And so I'm learning that, and I'm learning to give myself so much more grace. I feel like motherhood is
Mhm.
showing me so much about who I can be as an entrepreneur, and
Yeah.
also entrepreneurship definitely prepared me to being a mom. Like
Yeah.
they say it takes a village to raise a child, and I'm like, yeah, it also takes a village to build a business and to
Yeah.
build a community. And so I'm seeing these beautiful parallels. And so I feel like in this season it's been a beautiful time to integrate a lot of learnings, definitely a lot of learnings. And I want to say as well, like it's deepened my why, because I imagine my daughter like growing up in spaces like the ones that I've been a part of, or the ones that I'm creating. And I'm like, what a gift that she gets to be around women who think bigger, dream bigger, and show her what's possible, because I want her to grow up believing that she can do anything she sets her mind to.
Mhm.
So to instill that at such a young age, like it gets me more excited to see who she'll grow up to become, and how she'll be supported because of the business that I'm building. So
Mhm.
it's been hard, but we're figuring it out, right? Like taking it day by day, and just learning that I can't do it all on my own.
Listen, you're here today, so thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you for taking the time to even join me because I know what it's like. That was one of the things that I feel like I learned rather quickly after becoming a mom was being flexible, having uh,
Yes.
flexibility in just the way that you think, the way that you act, how you react, and everything else because what you're thinking something will end up being like or what you're planning might not at all even happen because something's gonna come
Yes.
up and I feel like you're right, it's the same thing as a business and I feel like I learn a lot from each other in different phases, especially the many phases that you go through as a business owner but also as a parent. They're very similar and I just feel glad to be able to learn from both at the same time, even though it's a juggle.
The Virgo in me is struggling with this lack of consistency and the
Wait, I
routine.
forgot
Oh
you're
my
a
gosh.
Virgo.
I'm like, man, do I miss the schedule? Even it was funny yesterday, I was at the coffee shop and I was getting some work done, and it's actually insane how much I can power through in such a short amount of time
Hmm.
these days. And it also was like making me kind of frustrated with my past self, because I was like, girl, what the heck were you doing with all of this time that you had before? Because I can get so much done in such a short time now that I'm kicking myself for how much time I must have wasted before I became a mom, because wow, we are so efficient these days.
It's honestly wild that we used to think, I don't have time to do anything. Oh, I didn't get enough sleep. And it's like, what? You got all the sleep that you needed before you became a parent, and you had time for all the things. And now
Truly.
somehow we still find times and ways to make it work, which some days I don't even know how it happens, but it just happens. Like you live multiple lives by 9 a.m., wouldn't you
You
say?
figure it out though, right? And I think entrepreneurship and being resourceful, being efficient, like figuring it out, find a way, make a way, like it really has prepared me for this, because I'm like, here, we'll figure it out. Take it day by day, and no day right now looks the same. And I'm learning to be okay with that, and just trusting, and really
Yeah.
in surrender mode. I'm like, we're doing the best that we can, and that's all we can do. So it's good. It's a lot of good things.
What's been like the funniest moment so far that even if it wasn't that funny, but you just ended up cracking up, on your own after after going through, parenting and juggling a business? What's been just bringing you joy, even if it's the silliest thing that you can think of?
Oh, with my daughter, or
But
just in
yeah,
general?
yeah,
Oh my
why not?
gosh.
Why not?
So it sometimes it's like I have those days where I'm like I'm so humbled, and I've had many of those where I'm like
Mhm.
I go in and I'm confident, I'm like I got this, and then it's like whoa, like pivot. I feel like that Friends quote, or Ross is like screaming in my ear like pivot. And
Yeah.
so my daughter and I, we were out on a walk, and she used to just sleep the whole time, and I could go on a walk for
Oh,
like an hour and like not worry
yeah.
about it. Like this was more so when she was like really little. Now she's pretty awake, but at the time, she would just sleep in her little bassinet. I'd be rolling on the stroller and listening to a podcast. And so there was this one day, like I was just in my zone. I'm listening to this podcast, and I just kept walking and walking and walking. And finally, she wakes up, and I'm like, oh, I'm like a mile and a half away from my house. Now, granted, I did have the diaper bag, I had the food, like I had all the things in case she needed it, but I was like, this is not good. I'm
How did I get here?
so far from my house. So she's fine for a bit. We're walking, she's awake, and then we're getting like maybe 6 blocks from my house. She starts getting fussy, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So I'm like pulling over the bassinet, like grabbing her formula, shaking up a bottle really quick. I'm sitting at like a bus stop feeding my baby, and at this time, like I can't hold her and push the bassinet, so we're here making it work. We're at the bus stop, and then finally I'm like, okay, girlfriend, I gotta get you home. We are so close. We're gonna make this as fast as possible. She was so fussy, but we made it. But it was just like one of those moments where I was like in just this other
Yeah.
world and kind of forgot what I was doing in that moment. But also, too, it was like, again, showed me that I have the ability to pivot. I have the ability to figure it out. We made it work. She was good. I was good. But it was
Mhm.
one of those like panic moments when I was like, oh my gosh, I've walked like 2 miles away from my house.
I will say that that's what every day will feel like for the rest of your life. At the end of the day, you're like, "Oh, what just happened? How did I get here?" And then it's like another
Truly.
day, and then another day, and then another day, and it just keeps going. But no, that's really funny. Wait, so is walking what you like to do just to sort of unplug, or what is on your list of hobbies right now?
Yeah, I feel like for me, it's a time outside. I feel like just always makes me instantly feel so much better. Like that fresh air for me, moving my body, and my postpartum journey was a little bit rough, and so for me,
Yeah.
walking was kind of like the best and most manageable and easiest way for me to still move, but in a gentle way for my body physically. And so we would
Mhm.
walk all the time, and then I was like, "Ooh, this is a good time for me to fill my mind and really stay into that positive space as well." So I was listening to podcasts, and so it was helping me to still feel like me. And I think that's been the thing. It's like this has been the biggest identity shift of my life. And
Yeah.
so those ways that still feel like how I used to operate before, where I pour into myself physically, pour into my mind mentally, still being able to do that, but in this beautiful new way where my daughter's a part of it is really like the best of both worlds. And so
Yeah.
it's this new evolution of who I'm becoming, and that I get to take her along the ride with me. And I see that continuing. I see her being a part of the things that I'm building. And so
Yeah.
it's a way to support her, it's a way to support me, but it's been really cool to see, okay, like what is it that I need and how can
Yeah.
I do this with her?
I love that. And that's why we do what we do. I feel like that's why most entrepreneurs end up making that big change because they're thinking ahead or they're already in that space spot in their life where they're maybe starting a family or they already have kids and they're trying to figure out how do we make it all work. And it does
Mhm.
give you a big, a lot of flexibility in what you're doing in your time. And so I'm very appreciative of being able to have a business that blends easily with my life as well. But quick question for you. What is one platform that you've been loving lately? And it could be an app, it could be something that you use for your business. And what's one that you just recently unsubscribed from? You said, I'm
Oh,
not
I
paying for
like
this anymore.
this. Okay, okay. I would say you're gonna love, actually, you're gonna love this answer based off of our previous conversations. But I have made the switch to hosting my community in Circle.
Woo!
And it was so much more user friendly than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
I am not a very techie person, and I was able to upload like the full course, figure all these spaces out on my own. Like I was able to make
Yeah.
that huge shift. And so game changer. And I love that because I'm a part of so many communities in
Mm-hmm.
Circle that they're all in one place. So
Yeah.
from a builder standpoint, that is like I'm so excited about this platform
Mhm.
and all of its capabilities. I think they just rolled out like a website builder too. So
Yeah.
just so much potential with that
Yeah.
platform. So I'm loving that.
That's
What
awesome.
I unsubscribed from, it was short-lived. And this might surprise people because I feel like it's very like trendy now.
Mhm.
Many chat. I was not into it.
Ooh, wait. Tell me why, because it is very trendy, and I feel like everyone, even though we know how many people are using it now, and we know what it is, there's still a big population of entrepreneurs being like, "Wait, how do I find it? What is it? What is it called? And how does it work?"
Yeah.
What was your experience?
I feel like there is definitely a space for it. And I think that those who have massive followings and maybe they have
Hmm.
digital products or digital downloads, that might be a better asset to have. For me,
Yeah.
though, so much of my work is tied to me, be it a one-on-one mentorship, be it
Mm-hmm.
groups that I lead, be it
Yeah.
communities that I lead, events that I host. So I'm like, I feel like I'm skipping out on the personal connection in the DMs when I actually love it. I'm the girl who's like, voice note,
Mhm.
like I want to talk to people. And so it was like this weird automated thing was like getting in the way of me actually
Yeah.
like building a relationship with somebody. I was like, this isn't feeling aligned for me in this season. Now, again, I see the benefit for those in a product or a digital space. Like I see that, but at least right now, I actually felt like I was missing the human connection by having all of these automations in place. So it had to go. At least in this season, it had to go. I want to voice note my people. I want to be in the DMs. Like that's one of my favorite parts about social media is the aspect of
Yeah.
it actually being social. So for me, it was not aligned at all. And I was like, yeah,
Mhm.
I'm over it.
Thank you for sharing because I feel the same, and it's probably because my type of business is similar to you. I'm in the service industry, and it's mostly me, and so I I have been saying this for a while. And unless you have a really huge account where you really
Yeah.
see the need and you truly cannot control it, and you don't have a team that can be in there, a social media team answering your comments and doing that community management for you, then it really needs to be you. And you need to dedicate the time and block time in your calendar for that because at the end of the day, the people that are following you, your audience, they're getting to know you, they're learning from you. The way you're going to convert them is by showing them who you are. And
Hmm.
again, unless you have a huge platform where you can't handle it, I see the benefits because I'm there in some of these creators' accounts. They're like, comment this word and you'll get the link directly in your DMs, and it's great. But then what I've noticed too is, which is a downfall, sometimes I respond and I hear nothing. And I've done it just to test it because of course they're not going to respond. Their DMs are probably overly saturated. But I just don't feel like they have a nice flow set up. And so it just leaves the
Yeah.
conversation in a weird way. But thank you for sharing. Now, is there anything that you want to share with anyone who is finding it a difficult time right now in their business as far as scaling? Maybe they're feeling down because they see that what they thought they would be doing is not aligning with where they're at right now. I know we're in a weird time with approaching the end of the year. What are some words of advice, or also for parents that are just now, maybe they just had a baby and they're taking that time off right now before jumping back in?
Yeah, I mean, I would say for those who are looking at the end of this year and they're like, wow, this year did not pan out exactly how I thought it would. See it as an opportunity. I think that there is always something that we can learn from the season that we're in. And I also am a firm believer that what season you're in doesn't define where you're going. And so if you can look at it from the perspective of where is this leading me? What is this trying to teach me? You will be so much more open to the possibilities that you may have not even considered in this season. Like truly, this time last year, I didn't know about Camp Climb being a possibility. I was pregnant, but I mean, obviously you don't know until you're in it. So like I didn't know how the passion pursuit was going to change or evolve, and I didn't know what the podcast would look like all these different areas. And so I think sometimes we can be so stuck on our plans or what we think we should do that we miss opportunities or we miss expansion in a way that we could have never expected. So honestly, best advice I can give is to unplug for a moment. Like if you're feeling it and you're like, I'm in the weeds, I'm not where I want to be. You're looking left and right at what other people are doing or doom scrolling, which is probably the worst thing to do. Like close the laptop, go outside, do something fun that lights you up and remember like who you are, remember why you started, remember what actually excites you to do, and ask how you can do more of that. And I promise you, your joy will lead you into places that you can never even imagined. So that would be, I would say the biggest thing is like not giving up hope and really seeing this as an opportunity wherever you're at in the season and being open to surprises, right? Like I would say even as a mom and coming back into work, like I was like, okay, like I don't know what this is going to look like. And I can be again so stuck in my way and stuck into my plan and I've had to really learn like how can I be a little bit more loosened with the grip that I have on my life and in my business and really just allow things to flow a little bit more. So for those who are entering back the workspace after leave, first off, maybe take a little bit more time than you think you need. I did not take long enough. I would have probably taken extra, to be honest. But when you do come back, if you can, come back in a way that feels like ease. Like you doesn't have to be full throttle right away. You don't have to go back 5 days a week. Like really take your time to integrate because I feel like that for me was was a lot harder than I
Mhm.
anticipated, and I was trying to do too much too quickly, and it was not serving anybody. So,
Yeah.
be patient with yourself. It's a huge transition, and not a lot of people are talking about that, but it is the
Yeah.
biggest shift you will make.
Yeah. In other words, embrace the pivots because
Yes.
they will surprise you. I love that. But also, how did you prepare? Like you just got me into another loop of, to one more question of how did you prepare for leave? And did you have any support through that time?
So I probably looked like a psychopath before I went on leave because I was working like non-stop, but I also felt really good. So let me preface this by saying honor your body, honor your energy. For me, third trimester, I was like, I'm great. Like I was on this
Yeah.
high. Like I felt so energized. So I recorded podcasts like it was well, it was kind of my job, but like there was no tomorrow. Like it was just like a
Mm-hmm.
constant thing. I had my podcast literally scheduled out through October. I kid you not.
Okay.
Like I was recording like a crazy person. I also kept a launch in mind of like I had School of Passion as one of my programs that was wrapping up right before leave. I had done a really big workshop around February timeframe that led to a smaller one-on-one offer. So I usually only do 3, 6, and 12 months, but I didn't have 3 months at that point. So I was like, well, how can I serve my community? I just made a smaller version of what I do.
That's
And
good.
so I was really intentional and strategic with like building up income that would allow me to be fully off. But all of my emails were scheduled ahead of time. All of the podcasts were scheduled ahead of time. So it looked like I was still here
Yeah.
socially and on the podcast, and to the point where people were like, how are you working? And I'm like, I'm not. This was all scheduled before I went on leave. So I really did do a ton in the front
Okay.
end to be super super present when I was off. And then I was just mindful of like, okay, going into the fall, this is how what I envisioned to be my plan. And to be completely honest, I've had to pivot a couple times and make this a little bit easier on myself than I had
Mm-hmm.
initially planned to. But yeah, I would say it was a ton of front end work. And then looking at the timeline, like even like the next year, like I was like, okay, Camp Climb can't happen this year, but it can absolutely happen next. And that will give me a longer runway to work with. So I just had to come to terms with doing things maybe a little bit slower than I anticipated. But I'm also doing this for the long term. I'm not here for just the results for next month. So I'm okay with it taking some time.
Well, coming from one Virgo to another, you got an A plus. So you did a
Thanks so
great
much.
job because I know what it's like, and I'm glad that you share your strategy though. It's about planning and thinking ahead, and I know that it's hard in what you said, honoring your body, but when you are when it's your own business, you really do have to take into consideration how much time you're willing to take off and your finances and all of that. And so I'm glad that you were able to figure out a way to serve your community in a way where you could still generate income, but maybe not necessarily within the time frame, that you were used to, the 3, 6, 12 months, but in a way that worked for you at the moment, which is what I always say, do what works for you. Nobody else knows, nobody
Yes.
else cares. Like do what works for you and forget about the rest. And in that season, that's what it was. So I'm glad that you listened to yourself and your intuition and that you did that. And you made it
You
work
just
and
have
you made it
to,
happen.
yes, you have to like use what you have too. Like for me, it
Yeah.
was like I wasn't going to reinvent the wheel. I originally was like, oh, maybe I should make digital products. And I was going down this rabbit hole of all these different things I should do. I was like, girlfriend, what do you do best?
Yeah.
Just do a smaller version of that. Like it doesn't have to be complicated. Like make it easier on yourself. So it's like just thinking about what you already have assets wise in your
Hmm.
business, resources that you have to use and use that. It's fun to get creative with that.
Yeah.
So it's just coming back to the resourcefulness piece.
Yes, I know. Well, I'm glad that you end on that note because there is an overwhelming number of social media platforms and platforms and softwares to use to grow your business and all of that. And my only piece of advice for that is always trial
Mhm.
everything. Test platforms out. Make sure that that's what your target audience is used to and what works for you. And don't use something just because someone else is using it or because they're doing it. Stick to what you know and what you love. And then that's it, as long as it works. But I'm glad you made the move to Circle though. And look at you now. I'm so excited for you.
Yes. I'm excited for what's to come with it. I need
Good.
to get my people plugged in, but we're making strides in the right
I
direction.
love that. Well, I can't wait to check in earlier in the new year to see how everything, wrapped up this year, and especially as you get ready for the retreat and to see how all of that went. But I'm so excited that this worked out, that we were able to finally get on and catch up and all the things. So thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
And to everyone listening, thank you for tuning in. If you love this conversation, be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and share it with someone who needs to hear it. You can find more about Community Made and sign up for the newsletter at communitymade.substack.com.